Hello and welcome to But Then What? Our storytelling show. We're 100% improv. We're 100% here. Welcome in. This is your first time. Welcome to season 2. It's the first episode. It's been a while, but we're back. There's a whole other season. If you love this episode, go back and listen to it. I'm Mystic. I am your MC/guide through this But Then What? Storytelling adventure. I am the creative director and owner of Autumn Moon Studios. That's where you are, if you didn't know. And I use she, any pronouns. And you know what? In the pre-show, I said we were going to answer a random question, and I didn't ever decide what that was going to be.
Yeah.
What if you were a flower? Which flower would you want to be? And now I have to think about the answer to my own question.
Yeah, that was hard.
It's a double. I do this literally every month on One Shot. I'm never prepared every single time.
As a plant gay, this is a very hard question for me.
I think that I would be echinacea. Because it doesn't bloom the first year. Takes a little time to figure out who it is and where it's at. And being neurospicy, I'm really bad with change. If I move, I have to settle in. And then it just blooms gorgeous and it heals you and it helps you. And I'm,
Yeah.
That sounds nice and fun.
That is nice.
Yeah. I think that I would be cauliflower. Because I think it's having a moment right now.
Yes.
I think, a lot of people are experimenting with alternative pastas and alternative, things for chicken, and cauliflower does a great job at all of it.
I'm sorry. You have to say alternative. You have to. It says just a little guy on here, but
alternative to chicken is actually what my
chicken.
Alternative chicken is so actually funny. What I am. There you go. Which is now, I know I left out the 2, so now it's actually just a really rock and roll chicken somewhere out there in the void. And cauliflower is just I think it's one of the more delicious and nutritious flowers out there, and it's having its moment. So that's my answer.
But who are you?
Oh, I'm Dillin. Hello.
You are the cauliflower, but you are also.
I am. Yeah. I'm Dillin, or Super Dillin. I'm the host of the One Shot podcast. I'm a little guy. I make lots of tabletop RPGs and table RPG content. That's me.
Woo. Last but not least.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kai. I use he, they, and she pronouns, and you mostly find me on Transplanter RPG. But today I'm going to say I am a flowering pepper tree. A little spicy.
Spicy.
Adds a little bit of flavor to things. You don't expect it to actually be kind of pretty. You maybe shouldn't just whole hog eat the whole thing once the fruit is there. There's something in there. I love a plant that flowers, and then because of the flower creates fruits. So and I like peppers a lot.
That's cool.
So that's where I'm at.
That is cool. I love that. Look at that. We made it through the intro.
We did it.
I'm so stoked you both are here. Seriously.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. If this is your first time tuning into an episode of But Then What, I'm going to tell you what is about to happen. But Then What is a 100% improvised storytelling show. The goal is to tell a story from beginning to end. Maybe it's funny. Maybe it's sad. Maybe it's spooky. Maybe it's scary. Maybe it's a romance. Who the fuck knows? I don't. Well, I do kind of, because we had some planning. But most of it is generated, and the story itself is 100% improv. So once we get into it, all of us are going to have 3 minutes. We're going to go around in a circle, passing the story off to the next person, who has to pick it up where that person left off and continue telling it. We get to make up all the names, all the conflict, all of that with the help of a little plot generator. So, as I mentioned, we did a little planning before we got on here, and we decided that what kind of story are we going to tell?
Space opera.
Space opera.
I just want to make the sound of like space doors.
Space doors? Oh.
We're going to tell space opera. And we're going to use the plot generator to help us give a description for a protagonist, a secondary character, as well as a conflict. And we might take it or leave it. But that is what we're going to do. And I'm going to hit the button right now. Oh my God. Okay. What did we get? We got our protagonist is a socialite who is self-centered.
Okay.
And our secondary character is a chef who is soft-hearted.
Okay.
And the plot hook that we can take or leave is it's an anthology story about believing in oneself. It kicks off in a butcher shop with an awkward conversation.
Okay. All right. Hang on. So,
yeah.
Starts off in a butcher shop.
Yep.
And what was the first part? Is that it's an anthology of what?
Of believing in oneself.
Oh my God. I love to believe in one. Oh my God.
So we're telling a self-help opera story that kicks off in a butcher shop. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We're trying to uplift this socialite who is self-centered. You know what? This is right up my alley.
Socialist. That's different.
Maybe they're a socialist socialite, you know?
I'm so glad that got repeated. 3 minutes in, you guys looking at me like, what the fuck are you
Dillin goes
talking
first.
about?
We're talking about the equal share of all the meat in this butcher shop.
The butcher shop needs to be unionized right off the bat. Like,
oh man. All right.
Okay.
So the last thing we have to do before we jump into storytelling is decide the order. I am the perpetual middle of this order.
Okay.
And so I'm going to conjure a number between 1 and 10 into my mind. And whoever gets the closest to that number is going to go first.
Okay.
Whoever's farthest will go last.
4.
7.
Okay. My number was 4.
Shut up.
All right.
Really?
Let's go, Dillin.
It was. So we have a little timer here for 3 minutes. You're going to have 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll reset it and I will take over and then we'll reset it from there and Kai will take over.
Okay. Space opera, butcher shop.
In a butcher shop.
Okay. All right.
Whoa. All right.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Absolutely not. But you should do it anyway.
I'll add one last thing. There's a little thing that we do on the show.
Okay.
It's called But Then What?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're curious about what the next person's going to say, at the end of someone's turn, you can say, but then what?
Yeah, okay, good. I was hoping that was part of it. I was going to say it, so I'm glad that it is part of the format.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Ready. 3, 2, 1.
It's hard to cut beef in space. That's one of the most challenging things that a person can do. But Chef does it day in, day out without complaint. Even though a chuck right now just floating over his head as we cut into the opening scene inside this quaint butcher shop somewhere off the 11th moon of Nos. And that little quaint butcher shop where he lifts his hand over his head and grabs the chuck of meat and pulls it back down onto the slab to cut it, only for the pieces to just fly away again. Constant chase that he does just to make a living. In walks Kenneth. Kenneth walks in with all of the confidence he never earned. A dandy in a suit that has been tailor-made to look like the suits of old Earth, a distant memory. So far gone that we don't even have its old picture books anymore. But he still mimics all the images and all of the times as he comes in, walks into this quaint little butcher shop and demands the finest cuts with a snap of his fingers and a point at Chef. Chef, of course, obliges, quickly putting away his work and shoveling it off to the side. And of course, sir, Kenneth, what can I get for you? You still want the fillet? You want salmon? Because we're kind of all out of that because they got to make it in the lab. And Kenneth looks to him and says, "No, I need something a little bit finer, something a little more real. I need some fillets, yes. I want them to be real this time. Not the lab-grown stuff, not the cloned meat. Where can I find some real beef on this moon?" And Kenneth leans down on the table, not touching it, of course, because it's gonna dirty his suit. But then what happens is...
Chef looks over. Do you know what you're asking for? Because... I think I know what you're asking for, but this conversation could be misconstrued about 5 different ways, and so I'd really like to know exactly what you're asking for here, Kenneth. Are you asking for me to break international laws? Are you asking for me to get on a ship and go find you a new planet with beef on it? Or are you asking for the new app that lets you meet people so that you can go have a nice night somewhere? Kenneth, leaning over, looks up at him, smirk on his face. I just want something to eat, Chef. Some real beef from a real cow. I've heard that they come in many shapes and sizes. Their fur is different colors. I don't care about any of that. Just get me a nice steak from a real cow. Chef, having left himself a little bit dirty, he put away his tools and the big cut that he was working in, slides his hands down his apron, finally washing them off. Well, if you shake my hand, you promise not to tell anyone. You know what that means, shaking a hand here. I can tell you where to go. Kenneth stands up straight, full smile on his face at this point. You got it, Chef. He hands out his hand for a shake, and Chef, with a glint in his eye, reaches across the counter as well. They shake hands. And the next thing you know, you hear a beep, boop, boop. Agreement locked. The cow floats by past the back of Kenneth's head as Chef gives him the coordinates of where he needs to go to find this real cow, this elusive, unknown thing he's never seen before, or touched before, or eaten before. Before Kenneth leaves this quaint butcher shop off the 11th moon of Nos. It's midday, and the three suns hang high in the sky as Kenneth walks through this quaint village, covered in greenery and life. Solar panels, wind panels, water moving everywhere in the air for use. Taps his watch 3 times, and his cup fills with water from the air. He takes a big drink. He goes, and a large octopus-like cat walks over towards Kenneth. Sassy, we're going on an adventure. You got your collar on, right? And the octopus wiggles. You can see these beautiful green rocks around its neck. I'll meet you at the ship. We gotta get provisions. Don't tell Mom. As Kenneth heads on over, gathering the energy he needs to fill his ship for this long travel to the coordinates that Chef has given him. Sassy going straight ahead towards the ship as the sun hangs in the sky. But then what?
The sun glistens off this roof. The whole village is peculiarly assembled when you only kind of need gravity. And so most refueling stations, they just throw the line up. The ships can just cruise on by, wait up there while they refuel, and move on to the next moon. After all, there's 20 of them. But today, no ships in the sky, just the crystal clear water floating past the sun. And Ennis, we'll say the proprietor of this establishment, sits outside, reclining in a somewhat normal-looking dish that also happens to be their containment suit. Ennis is a bit of a non-Euclidean form. But from within the bowl to Kenneth, as he just strolls along like this is the most normal thing that he's ever seen. After all, he's been here for most of his life. Hello! Ennis gurgles from their bowl. Ennis, I need a fill-up. All the way. Well, do you have the coin? Well, yes. I was wondering if you could spot me. I'll pay you back, but I need to do this one a little off the books. I wouldn't want Ma to catch wise. I'm just skipping town for a couple of days. Okay. Well, last time you took 2 months. I know, but I will come back a new man. And there's something about the sincerity in the way that Kenneth delivers this. He's known to want things, ask for things, but today there's purpose. This idea, this new, familiar, ancient, lost, and yet new idea. Real fillets of beef. I'll make good on it this time. Promise. And from the bowl, Ennis's tendril reaches down. But then
he pulls his tentacle back out, a singular key on a ring wrapped around it. This key looks ancient and old somehow, like a skeleton key that would unlock every door in a house. He hands it over to Kenneth, and Ennis says, "You didn't get this from me." And reaches over, drops it in his hand, and says, "You've got to get off rock if you want what you seek. Several moons from here, I heard rumor. You can get what you're looking for. Won't be easy, but you seem pretty sold." Kenneth grabs the key and swings it around his finger, stuffs it in the neat suit pocket that absolutely has never touched a piece of metal so disgustingly rusted before. But he does it anyway, and he reaches out a hand to tenderly shake the tentacle of his friend, Ennis. "Well, if I don't come back, don't come looking for me. If I find what I'm after, I might stay there. Maybe forever." He heads out round the back. Ennis had a big plot. And that wide, kind of ranging, high grass that Ennis has grown here. Between it all, a vessel hidden in it. One that definitely isn't registered. For sure isn't legal. And definitely didn't come standard with this key. But it's there. And it's alone. And it's unguarded. And when he takes out the key, remarkably, it opens. Kenneth sits inside. Sassy hops in to the back. And then what happened?
And then what?
Sassy climbs into the back, and you just hear, "Kenneth, how dare you decide to leave this rock without me?" And in strides Mom. This ship is different than any that either of them have seen before. Much like Kenneth's garb, it reminds them of the steamships from back off of Flopsy. "How did you get this ship? And what in the world are you doing?" And Kenneth looks back at Mom. "Darling, Mom, I just needed to do something. And Sassy is coming with me. Obviously, she told you." Looks over at Sassy. Sassy just shrinks into the size of a cup and sits back into the corner of the chair. "You shouldn't have Sassy lie for you, and you should tell me where you're going." Kenneth looks a little wide-eyed and a little shocked, a little disheveled. He looks like he's keeping a secret. "Well, I have been asked to go on special assignments to ensure that the trees off of Florn are still in growth and that they are producing enough oxygen for us to harvest and bring back per the international agreement. It's a work thing. Mom softens slightly. You could have told me. I could have told you. Just be safe. Where'd you get this ship? Finally kind of calms down, looks around. Don't worry about it. Winks at her. Kenneth, what am I gonna do with you? I guess I'll see you later. How long this time? Maybe a week, maybe 3 days, depends on how things are going. All right. I'll see you then. Wait, a week? 3 days? You're gonna miss our anniversary? How dare you miss our 10-year anniversary, Kenneth?
Ma said that?
Yes.
Okay, just checking with where we're at. Just figuring out what's going on here.
But then what?
I'm so sorry. Kenneth kind of straightens up his suit, dusts the rust of the key off of the pocket a little bit. You know, I feel so... it feels so very special. 10 years. But listen, we'll celebrate when I come back. Again, it's work. It's work. And Ma, clearly frustrated, kind of scuffs a foot on the ground in the ship. And what would normally just be the sound of grates or some sort of hollow metal hits something that sounds very solid, like stone. And around behind her, where she cannot see, but Kenneth can, an echo of lights follow the impact. There are mysteries in this ship that, for the moment, are just for Kenneth. And maybe Sassy. But Ma huffs again. Work is important. But don't be gone for... Try and make it 2 days if you can. I'll do my best. And I'll come back with flowers. I'll come back with flowers. And Ma, not pleased, crosses her arms, pats Sassy on her... We're going to call that the head of the cup. And turns in a huff and stops at the doorway. All ships in this world are all built so differently, and she's used to ones that maybe have more gangplanks or ramps, and this one you just walk off and it's grass. And it feels odd. And through the little hole of the port, she sees Kenneth. 2 days. Yeah, 2 days. And then door closes and Kenneth looks around, trying to figure out the source of the strange lights. But there's a cow waiting. A cow and maybe even a bit of destiny getting off this rock again. And he turns and looks over at what looks like should be probably the launch sequence, something in that world, but this isn't one of those amazing Flopsy steamships. This is different. And he runs his fingers over it, and again, more of those lights begin to glow, and a rumble begins from within the ship. But then what?
Then what?
Running his fingers over the lights that glow as these buttons activate and the ship turns on all of its mechanisms, preparing for its first takeoff in ages. Kenneth takes a moment, reaches a hand into his suit pocket, feels this menacing piece of paper inside, squishes it, pulls it out, and just sort of slaps it, adheres it to the front of the ship, points at it, refusing to acknowledge its words. He looks down at the console ahead of him, glances briefly at the source of the light behind him, and sort of squints, closes his eyes so tight before just pushing whatever button feels right. And at first, the ship just groans, and it sounds like it squeals and breaks. But he takes another deep breath, and he slams it down on another one. And this time, the brakes release. The engine hums. The lights all come to life as the ship rockets up into the atmosphere, rolling and unsteady for quite some time as he frantically clicks buttons and flips switches and essentially stumbles his way through this, essentially having Sassy come over and hold different pieces of the mechanisms down as he figures out what makes this ship stay steady just in time for it to burst through the artificial atmosphere, the glowing grid that keeps this moon alive, and the gravity somewhat stable as he tumbles out into space before him. He sits back for a minute, pats himself on the back, clicks on what he assumes to be the autopilot. He's doing pretty well for himself. And then he steps back and stares towards the back of that ship. The lights humming back there. And he takes a few steps. Says, Sassy, man the deck. And then what happens?
Wait, I didn't hear the last line. What did you say?
He says, Sassy, man the deck.
Sassy comes out of the cup and wanders over to the stand. It's like this stoned wash basin that acts as the place to sit to operate the controls. And you watch as they plop their back into it, and all their tentacles just start pressing buttons. And their tail is like swooshing behind them. Kenneth begins to walk back into the ship. There's a quaint sleeping quarters, a galley, what looks like a medical bay, and finally a storage. The lights popping on as he wanders back through the ship. My cat really wants in my office right now as Sassy scratches.
Yeah.
Sassy's working really hard.
Frantic.
He just hears in a voice he's never heard before. You should have told her. And he just looks around. Hello? I sensed a heightened nervousness when Ma entered the ship. You should have told her. Kenneth, the hair on his arm starts to stand up. Who the fuck are you?
And anytime that happens, we get a clip back to Sassy.
So Sassy's just working so hard.
You may call me Tree. I am the operator of the ship. The buttons are for nostalgia. Kenneth just like nods, like, yeah, that seems about right. Okay. You should have told her the beef was for your anniversary. But then it wouldn't be a surprise, would it, Tree? I was lying because it's a surprise. I do not understand surprises. Do you need a potato? And a potato just pops out of like one of the storage bins, just opens, and a potato rolls out. But then what?
With the potato also is just a small shower of the dirt. There's actually a decent chance that the field itself was actually a part of this ship. So somewhere in space on the outside of this odd domed ship is grass, is a field, is Ennis's growth that it's been working on for all of this time. And potatoes, a very hardy crop. Hard to grow in a planet with in a moon with strange gravity, and yet somehow here they are in this ship inside of Tree. Here it is, a potato. All right, but Kenneth looks over the potato. It's relatively normal to his estimation. It's blue, but it's a potato. Supposedly the Earth ones were usually brown, but for the most part in this region and most other places that he's ever been, the potatoes have been green and blue, purple, pink, sometimes the red ones. Tubers come in such peculiar shapes and sizes, but they are very easy to grow. And he only knows that because he dated somebody who explained that to him once.
Kenneth.
Yes. Do you have more of these? They supposedly go very well with beef. Ah, that is correct. By my estimation, there are above 12 million permutations of meals to have with beef. Yes, but I'm looking for something simple and nice and something that perhaps my friend could cook for me. And I'll be honest, he's mostly for the meat.
Poor chef.
At any case, this was sort of a surprise. I do not understand. The potato. You just dropped a potato out of your wall. That was practical. That is where the potatoes are grown. Sure. Well, thank you. And then he looks around of where to put the potato as Tree closes the wall back up where the potato came from. And then realizes that his hand is also dirty. He's still wearing a suit. He doesn't know where the actual place to wash his hand is. And now he's just holding a potato and walking around the ship. And then in the next room, he hears a creaking sound, a crashing sound, rumbling. None of these are ship sounds. And holding a potato runs to the next room of this relatively small ship. But then what?
He runs directly into the bowling alley where he runs on, and the floor is so slippery in here that he does a little woo and goes flat on his back. Complete surprise to find a floor so slippery in a place like this. He never imagined such a thing, but the bowling balls and the pins just crashing as the automated simulated screens above the bowling alley replay strike after spare after split shot, and they just go on their little animation journey showing Kenneth how it is to be done. Kenneth almost leaves this room, disappointed that it's not the washroom. But he looks down at his dirty hand and the potato. He's come this far. The ship's on autopilot. He might as well give this a shot. What if he could? What if he could throw this potato down the bowling alley? And so Kenneth walks his fine shoes clicking and slipping all over the bowling alley floor as he tries to keep his composure. He's never done anything like this before. This is a common sport. This is a lowly activity, one that they don't even do anymore. But there's no one watching. Not even Sassy can see him do this right now. So he winds up his arm and he flings the potato, and it hits a pin in the next lane over from the one that he was aiming towards. And he doesn't know the rules, he says out loud to no one. I don't know what the rules of this game are. That could count. I think that could count. If I want it to count. Does it count, though? If I don't follow the rules in the privacy of my own meltdown, am I not lying to myself? And he goes over to the rack and grabs a real bowling ball. He watches the animation and sees how they do it, and he goes, those were not the rules. And he throws it one more time down the aisle, and then what happens?
I'm sorry. I've learned more about Kenneth in those 3 minutes.
Believing in himself.
I love this. Growth, everyone. Inside of Tree.
You can't pull it together.
You have to believe in yourself.
Like Kenneth.
Like Kenneth did. Yeah.
All right. He throws the ball down the lane, only to see the pins just break in a holographic format as he hears a clunk of the stone of the ball hitting the stone of the spaceship. And you just hear Tree, that was a spare. Good job. And he's like, okay, I do know the rules. I can do this. All right. And around the time that he's like, you know, brushing himself off a little bit more, his clothes feeling good, believing in himself, he just hears a wah! The scream of Sassy from the front of the ship. And a big kaboom as the whole ship shifts to the left unexpectedly. Kenneth is thrown on the slippery floor over to the side, crashes into the wall. You hear a boo, 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 as more projectiles are shot towards the ship. Tree comes over and whispers in Kenneth's ear, we are being attacked. We are in protected airspace. This is where the beef is. What shall I do? And Kenneth is like, Chef told me to go to protected airspace, and starts running towards the front of the ship, towards Sassy. Tree, the disembodied voice that whispered in his ear that now follows behind him, starts shouting, the buttons are for nostalgia! As Kenneth runs towards the front of the ship to get to Sassy, You find Sassy back in her cup, the buttons lighting up all around him. But through the front of the ship, where you can see through into the space around them, he sees a bright orange planet in front of them. There is a ring, almost like a protective fence around the entire planet. It seems to jut and jolt with electric energy. And sure enough, he sees about 3 different spacecraft, all black and white, polka dotted materials, pointing towards him. Tree says, "They are requesting to come aboard. Should I allow?" Kenneth just looks around. What? "They are requesting to come aboard. Should I allow?" Are they nice? Are they armed? What do they want? I will ask. But then what?
Tree goes silent. Again, Tree doesn't actually need to vocalize or be heard, leaving Kenneth to the somewhat still shaking ship, and Sassy still occasionally as the ship moves around, and Sassy frantically tries to push the buttons to control the situation. But again, the buttons are for nostalgia. And Kenneth watches as this occurs, realizing that the only control he's had of this entire situation is the fact that he didn't put dirt on his suit, and he threw a single bowling ball. And he's quiet. The ship is quiet. There's this orange planet floating in the distance. He sent Ma away without explaining, and now he's in strange space, being attacked with no answer, and they are friendly. Tree comes back. The existential crisis looming in the back of Kenneth's brain, slowly pushing away as this friendly voice whispers behind him that doesn't seem to have any actual physical form. Okay, maybe the existential crisis is still a little there. Well, how are they going to board? Where's the airlock? I need some sort of... I am already allowing them on board, if that is amenable. Sure. And finally he puts his hand, wiping a giant smear of dirt down the side of his suit. Sure.
My man. He's growing.
He looks to Sassy, who's still trying to control the situation, but let's be honest, she's an Octocat. They don't really know what's going on in full detail. Tails swishing around, but the moment that the sound of what actually sounds like an airlock, a familiar airlock, not some stonework that's rotating or the deep rumblings of the earth or whatever strange noises the ship can produce next, an actual airlock. And the sound of hooves? Clop, 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 as not one set, but at least 2 sets of hardened shoes, maybe, Kenneth hopes, because if they're hooves, suddenly the beef is less fun, or maybe just different. And he whirls around, seeing a door come out of nowhere that wasn't there before. But then what?
The door opens, the airlock, as the hoof noise source makes itself known. 2 bipedal deer in bandanas and shades walk through the door. The first one, with a cigarette hanging out of his deer mouth, takes off his shades and says, "Kenneth, you son of a bitch, how long have you been in protected space for?" I haven't seen you out here in years. Thought you made good for yourself. Look at that suit. And it says, look, Benny, I did not have any idea that you were still out here. I thought that you retired. This is... Why did you shoot at me? I mean, I'm just trying to get to the 20th moon. There's something that I need to do. And I got to do it in the next 2 days. I'm not here. I'm not back. I'm not here to party or to join you or anything like that. I just got to get something done. Is that, I mean, you're welcome to stay, but is that cool? Benny looks back at his compatriot behind him, who just gives a little shrug and eats a tick off his own shoulder. And Benny says, yeah, you're a new man now. I guess that's fine. Moon life's changed you. But, since you got this nice ship and all, mind if we hang around? Yeah. In fact, as soon as I'm done with it, as far as I'm concerned, you can have the dang thing. I just need to get there and back. So could you bear with me and maybe not shoot anymore? Yeah. We're cool. We're all pals. Don't be ridiculous. Hey, come on, let's see if there's a bowling alley. And they both walk over. The tree comes over. Says, those are old friends of yours. Yeah, you like know my history or something? No, you were friendly. Ah, yeah.
But then what?
You do not own Tree. Tree belongs to Annis. You lied again. I just was in a situation. We can move forward now. It's fine. We'll just takesy backsies later. Takesy backsies. That sounds mean. Tree, I don't know that I need advice from a disembodied voice that sounds like it's whispering right into my ear. I'm trying to do something good for Ma, okay? For once in my goddamn life, I'm trying to do something good for someone else. That doesn't mean I need to be doing good for everyone, you know? Tree is silent for a while. Hear the crash of the balls in the holographic bowling alley. Sassy, a little bit smaller than her full form, comes slinking out and rubs against Kenneth's leg and just sits and looks at him with her big octocat eyes. Tree still hasn't said anything. Kenneth looks down at Sassy. Not you too. I'm doing something good for Ma. Doesn't mean I'm a good person. Just doing something good for someone else. Got it? It's like a half gurgle, half meow that comes out of Sassy. She heads back up to the chair and starts pressing the colorful buttons again. And as Kenneth looks out at the barrier blocking him from the 20th moon, he begins to question his own thoughts about whether or not he's actually changed. Is not the Kenneth that Venny knows, and why he allowed Venny to stay on the ship. But then what?
The ship is silent for a long moment as Kenneth sits and watches this orange world get closer and closer. It's a moon, sure, but when half of the places that he's ever been have all been moons, the colloquialism expands to world. He's always thought it was a little bit uneven, like many things in the way that humans have populated well beyond the ancient history of Earth. And as he sits and contemplates the deep and long history of the population of the stars, a different voice permeates the air. Password! Excuse me. Password! Kenneth jumps up at this very loud, echoing voice that, unlike Tree, who can sit pleasantly next to someone or sort of loom in the distance, this one is omnipresent, and all of the lights, even on the nostalgic console, all light up with it. Orange, orange, everything is orange. In fact, the echo of lights that first indicated the presence of another digital, maybe more than that, life form within this ship, all light orange. Venny! Venison, where are you? And Kenneth gets up and runs towards the bowling alley. Venny, hey, we were bowling here and it turned off. What's the password? I don't know the password. Why would anyone have the password? It's the 20th moon. No one goes there. We're just here to make sure no one else, gets too close. Password. Oh, I guess you do need that, don't you? All right. Well, the thing is, Kenneth, I don't have it. Kenneth looks Venny over. The cigarette still kind of dangling out of his sort of stunted deer snout. We're old friends. I get it. I'm not going to tell anyone. Yeah, but I actually don't have it. I really don't. Why would they lock it all away? Well, didn't you know they're almost extinct? Everything that's on there is for safekeeping. That's the whole point of it. No one goes down there. It's for safety. The dead one.
Kenneth tries to take a deep breath, but it catches in his throat. But I need it. I have to get there. You have to know what it is. I mean, that's your job, right? Is guarding the perimeter, right? You've got to have it, and that's why you showed up at my ship today, right? Like you got to have the answer. Man, I don't. We stop people from going in. The locks stop anyone who gets past us. We don't have it. Are you all right? Kenneth, taken aback. Yeah, no, I'm so good. I'm good. Sorry. Yeah, of course I remember. Yeah, of course you don't have it. Don't worry. You know what? I think it's somewhere. I think I think it's somewhere on this ship. You know what? I feel it in my bones. It's somewhere here. It's here. The answer, I just got to find it. There's more to this ship. All I saw was the bowling alley and the control room. I mean, that there's more to it than this. And he straightens back up and sort of like shakes off the casual demeanor he's sunken back into with Venny here. Tree? Yes. Tree, you got brandy on this ship? And a vault opens up and a very comically large little glass goblet with a full, and he grabs it. All right. I'm going to see the rest of this ship. He walks straight. You, Benny. I'm sorry. Please finish your game. Sassy, continue to push buttons. I have the ship to explore. He walks back, straight back. Walks past every door that is unlocked to the touch. He waits until he finds one that doesn't budge.
But then what?
But then what?
Tree, can you tell the password guy we're working on it so he stops screaming at us? I will. Communicate. He stands in front of the door. He starts gliding his open hand, the one not holding the empty brandy glass, along the edges of the door frame. Can I get a refill while you're at it, Tree? And out of nowhere, his cup refills. What's in this room, Tree? Unknown. Tree. What is in this room? Unknown. You too, huh? Gotta do everything myself. He puts down the brandy glass, unbuttons his coat, untucks his shirt, and goes to grab a crowbar that's been sitting amongst the storage that he's walked through. It just starts wrenching on this door. And as he does, he can't really find purchase, but he doesn't stop. It feels a little insane as he keeps trying the same thing over and over and over, and he begins to grunt and yell and curse and sweat until finally, as he lets out almost a roar, he pulls back his legs against the middle of the wall, his entire body lengthening as he pulls the crowbar away from the door and hears a click. He pushes the door open and he catches this intoxicating scent. Smell that he's read about in history books, never really experienced. He didn't think humans could smell this smell anymore. The smell humans smell when it's about to rain. This earthy, green, wet. But then what?
There's a word for it. Not a colloquialism, not some charming term that they came up with since leaving Earth and going to the moons and exploring the depths of space. It's on the tip of his tongue. But he's so distracted by the smell, the feeling of it. Petrichor. And behind him, he hears Tree. Surprise. This room has not been opened since Tree, are you all right? In the hallway behind the door that just opened, the orange lights continue to pulse despite the absence of the yelling of the voice asking for the password, the password, the password. Kenneth turns to face the door and realizes that the 2 or 3 steps in, Tree's voice doesn't travel past that threshold. And in this room, he finally takes it in. Looks around, it glistens, it feels like reading a good book, like sitting by the fire late at night, just a little bit warm from the glow of drinking and laughing. Ma's smile on a good day. The feeling of going to a new moon. All of those things that made him want to continue to explore. It's been a long time since socialite Kenneth has done anything beyond talk. But this place, the air filled with this magical lost scent, it awakens something deep inside of him. He doesn't need Tree. He's got this surprise. And somewhere in this room, hopefully a password. He rubs his hand along a stone bench or some sort of construction that is similar but different and wet and feels like slate. The mud leaves his hand. But then what?
You're muted, Dillin.
Of course I am. Kenneth soaks in this place. And the fate, the everything about him and his life that has led him here. And he begins to wander, to find what he's finally after. And as he does, the camera zooms behind him, going all the way down the ship corridor and turning midway and looking at Sassy. Sassy, whose tentacles still control the ship, not mechanically, not by physics, but by the will that Sassy has put into the ship to steer it, telling Tree essentially what she desires as she sort of navigates around the force field that keeps them out of this moon, darting back and forth and avoiding all enforcement as she does. And as she does this, we get a glimpse into Sassy memory of Kenneth. Sassy's many memories with Kenneth as she's been with him for ages. And we see at first the day that he picked her out of the litter that she was born from. And it was as if she was chosen, it felt like, in that moment. he reached down and he didn't even look at the others. He just picked her, and he walked out without questioning whether or not they were right for each other. He just knew. And that was the pattern with which we see these memories unfold, not just with Sassy, but with everything Kenneth did. He just did it. Whether or not he thought it was right, thought it was wrong. Today, he took a ship. He took her on it. He left without consulting her. He just did whatever he wanted because he thought and knew without question that it would work out. But then what?
I don't know. Sassy's having these memories, steering the ship, connecting with Tree. And Tree says to Sassy, remind him of who he is. And Sassy stops the button pushing. I will get us to the beef. And Sassy pads her suckers, kind of sticking sometimes to the stone of the ship with like a squish, squish. Sits in front of him and places one tentacled paw on his leg. He looks at her. The cows are endangered, Sassy. Do you know what that means? She just tilts a head to the side. Yeah, of course you don't know what that means. It means there's not many left. And that if you kill any of the ones that are left, you might kill an entire species. So, we could go down there and try and find this beef to only find one cow, and then what? Kill one cow for an anniversary dinner? Is that who I want to be?
I thought this was a good idea. It is a good idea. And he looks down to Sassy, who, honestly, her eyes are moderately more intelligent than, say, the stories of the Earth cats. But she still is a better sounding board than a conversationalist. You're right. It is a good idea. It is. But what? Why the hell do I want this? So what? Of course it's going to be delicious and unique and a new experience. And he remembers the smell of the petrichor. The feeling of dirt on a new moon, the light of new suns. The feeling of a potato in his hand. A new experience. And in his eyes, we see the rapid reflection of 10 years of an anniversary, of 9 anniversaries. Nice dinners, dancing, starlight. All of it very normal. Just what he wanted to do when he finally left his old life behind. But this is a newness that Ma would accept. Maybe not the getting of the newness, but a nice meal. Something that he did for her. For her. It's for her. Sassy, one of her long suckered tentacle paws reach up and begins to like climb up his leg. And here the air gives her a nice sheen. There's something very humid in here, and he can't quite figure out the source. But that's not what he's thinking about right now. He's thinking about new experiences and petting Sassy's head damp from the air, not from a bath or jumping into a fountain or that time that he accidentally poured an entire cup of coffee on her. New. Orange moon, Venian holographic bowling alleys. He looks around. Then what?
Would you like measures against the humidity? Tree asks. Oh, do we? I guess. I don't think I need anything. Why is it dangerous? I don't know. It's uncomfortable, though. No, it's fine. Continues to pet Sassy and for a few moments longer and then puts her down. Z ventures looking for what he needs to find for Ma, for their big reunion, for him, for everything. He looks around, feeling warmer and sweatier, stickier. His shirt shouldn't lay like that on his skin as he walks and keeps walking. Would you like some water? Tree asks. Do I need it? Do you need it? Yeah, water will be fine. Begins to walk deeper into this ship, into this damp space as it gets more expansive and thicker and heavier. And he begins to get tired. He begins to lay down. He douses himself in his nice suit even in a little bit of water as he lay in the dirt for a rest.
But then what?
His eyelids get heavy. Sassy snuggles up under his armpit. And he sleeps. And he doesn't dream. He sleeps. Deep and heavy. And when he awakes, he hears chewing snorting. Heavy, hot breath. He opens one eye first, looks around, and sees that he's surrounded by strange, hooved, four-legged creatures with pink sacks that hang from their bellies and big, wide, wet, square noses and black and white coats. Sassy still sleeps in his armpit. Tree. What the fuck is this? You have created beef. What? My original operating code was that of manifestation, creation, and object permanence. You're telling me this now? It was a surprise. So, can I eat? Did I just save a species from? What? Are they mean? Or will they eat me? Can I get up? What is happening? You may experience this on your own. Tree.
Okay.
Around him, the large, lumbering, somewhat odorous, not petrichor smelling creatures kind of nudge against him. And they're not small. Kenneth is not unremarkable in his stature, but he definitely is smaller than the large beef. Beef comes from something. Cow. Right, we went over this. The cow lumbers by with a low and begins to push past him, getting more and more damp in the air, but the dampness has thinned a little. Okay. I understand now. I think. I don't. I made beef. You did. You made beef. What purpose besides... And he stares into 1,000 questions. Questions that theologians, scholars, physicists have all asked. And Kenneth's just a socialite from a small moon that does have strange gravity. What about this? And he puts his hand very pointedly on the cow, and the cow jumps and moves forward. He definitely touched it. It touched him. He's touched it. It's definitely tangible. It definitely smells. The tail flicks him in the arm, and it begins to run forward into the damp, running into 2 other cows who also moo and lumber and look back at Kenneth like, come on, man, we're having a nice time here. We're just cows. And he looks into their dark eyes, thinking of Sassy's dark eyes. Somewhat intelligent, not completely intelligent. And the cow looks back at him. Do you understand me? You are speaking to the cow. It does not have the ability to return. Okay. I understand that part. You are very heightened. Thank you, Tree. I am aware because you surprised me. Congratulations. I still am working on tone with surprises.
But then what?
Beholding this cow that he created through the sheer will of wanting it, this ship, they didn't know what they had down there. Growing grass and potatoes, this can manifest your very dreams, or at the very least, he thinks, mine. I made this. And all but extinct species, I don't need that moon. He begins to pace back and forth, overjoyed. Sassy, we should go straight back. We'll go back. We don't even have to. Ma wanted us back in 2 days. We'll be back in 1. We'll be back in 1, and with enough cows to start our own farm, and that no one will have to find. It'll be ours, just ours. Take us back home. And Tree comes over. Was this all you wanted? This is better than what I wanted. I wanted a simple experience. I wanted to be able to taste something that no one has ever tasted, and I made it happen. I made it happen for me. We're going to take this home. We'll show Ma. We'll show everyone what I can do with this ship. Let's go home. Turns and walks down the hallway, flinging open doors just with a wave of his hand to see what's inside. He peers inside the bowling alley just as Venny scores yet another strike, looking cool as hell. Says, "We're leaving."
But then what?
But then what?
We're leaving. Oh, yeah? You get, okay. We get the ship, right? Well, actually, can you take us back to our ship? Drop us off. We'll follow you back. Then we'll take this one once we get back to Nos. And Kenneth stops. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll take you back to your ship, and we'll have a conversation. And Benny's like, no. You can't come back on a deal, my friend. This is our ship. Kind of like this bowling alley. Huh. Kenneth says. Yeah, we'll have a conversation. And Venny looks back at Kenneth. You haven't changed one bit, have you, buddy? Pulls out a vial of some kind of liquid and holds it towards Vinny threateningly. Cigarette the same length of burn as every other time we've seen him. You don't want to be doing that. Whatever you're gonna do, you throw that at me, This whole ship is toast. You know what that shit does. Might be worth it. How many times you backstab me, Kenneth? Or should I say, Kenny? Isn't that? You know, it's all in the past. Moving forward, Maul and I are out of the gang, you know? We're on the straight and narrow. 10 years married. Did it right after we left. You guys didn't come to the wedding, I remember. Nope. No, we didn't. Tosses the potion in the air, catches it. Seriously, Vinny, put that away. Now. I'm taking control of this ship, Vinny says. Goes to stride past Kenneth. Sassy stands in the doorway. Kenny just gives her a nod. She slinks away, climbing up the back of his suit into that dirty pocket with the key. What have I done? He whispers to Sassy.
And over in his mind, like a voice demanding a password to a protected moon, he hears, anything I want. And he hears Tree. Is that all? Over and over and over again as he watches Venny thumb over the bottle. He feels Sassy in his pocket. And the whole ship goes white for a moment. A pulse of orange. A void of white. A cow. 1,000 cows. No cows. Kenny, 10 years younger, standing holding Ma's hand. She's smiling. No, not that one. Holding Sassy, new, fresh out of the tank. The most perfect cat octopus creature he's ever seen. Ship. A potato. No, Sassy. He looks at Venny, silhouetted in white. No bowling alley, no pulsing lights. The potion in his hand becomes a fillet of beef. It floats in the air just the same way the one with Chef does. Butcher shop. I'm sorry, what was that, Venny? Oh, I thought we was going to your wedding. No, that's... What? Hey, I was threatening you. Were you? The fillet starts to float away. A butcher's chopping knife floats the other direction. In the background, a cow floats behind Kenneth. You see, the thing is, Venny, this ship isn't yours. It's not gonna be. I hate to break it to you. And you see Venny pat down all of his many deer pockets as the world begins to fade back to stone walls and pulsing orange. And the fillet lands on the ground, wet, sopping, kind of gross. Shouldn't eat that one. It's okay, it was 3D printed. But there's no potion. But then what?
There's only what I want there to be. Don't you get it? This is my ship. this is my will. This is my cat octopus. This is my fillet. These are my cows. This is my bowling alley. Wait! Pool hall. And he turns around and the bowling alley is completely different. It is a smoky pool hall. The same size space, just replaced interior. I can do that on this ship. Can you? For a moment, there's like doubt across his face as then he closes his eyes, tries a little. Well, it's doesn't seem to be working. It's not a beer garden in here. No, because this is mine. Because this is the way it works. Look, I don't got anything against you, Venny. You just can't be in my way for this. I'm taking her home. So you want me to drop you off? Or are you coming back with us? Benny consults with the other partner behind. Shrugs again. Why not? We ain't been on a moon in a while. Plus, I'd like to see what you do with this thing. Could be fun to watch. Kenneth pulls the cigarette out of Venny's mouth, puts it in his own, and as he sucks on it, it turns into a candy cigarette. He chews it right up in his mouth. Heads back over to the cockpit. You almost there? But then what?
We are en route to beef. And Kenneth says, I told you to turn around, Tree. I am following your heart's desire. I don't want to go to the 20th moon. I want to go back to Ma. Says your words. Tree, this is not funny. Turn this ship around right now. You're making fun of me. I just proved to Venny I was in control here. You are in control, Tree says. You hear, or you see Venny and their partner kind of like startle, like this was the first time they've heard Tree's voice in the ship. Where is Sassy? Tree asks Kenneth. You're an omnipresent ship. You should know where Sassy is. Do you? Vinny, sit down. Start pressing buttons. Think about Ma. Get us back to Ma. So Vinny lights a new cigarette, sits down in the stone-ish like chair, starts pressing buttons. You hear Tree say away from Kenneth as he strides back into the ship, the buttons are for nostalgia. And Kenneth is just like kind of stomping. Sassy! Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Where are you gone? Sassy! He ends up all the way to the back of the ship. Somehow Sassy having left his pocket and wandered there on her own. And while he's walking, Kenneth's like, Ma loves flowers. Get some flowers. And he begins to imagine flowers in the field of grass where the cows are. He walks back into the room with the 30 cows. There's beautiful white looking daisy-like flowers that seem to move on their own, turning and touching each other. Their petals sort of folding and billowing as they do. And the cows are jumping and bounding and rolling through the flowers. And sure enough, Sassy is there playing with them. Kenneth just says, "Tree, I thought you said they couldn't comprehend, they couldn't talk." But then what?
They cannot. And the cows... Kenneth, in his mind, imagines that this is what perhaps bovine laughter must sound like as they make a low sound as Sassy crawls over them and rolls on them and plays with them. Sassy's playing with the cows. Huh. And around them, there aren't daisies. There's daisies near the front, daisies around, but in a wide berth, perhaps as far as a cat octopus can imagine, there are things that look like weeds. No? Is that mint? The air around the cows both smells like that odorous smell of cows and mint. Sassy rolling on the cows and the mint created a patch of catnip. And Kenneth, deep in his heart, this place of wanting, the thing that he, of course, wants, where there's beef in there. And Ma, next to Kenneth, a small, soft, familiar sofa. Not the one from the 11th moon of Nos. From his time when he was known as Kenny. From when Ma still looked at him like he was a rakish wannabe gentleman, the kindly rogue. The sofa there where Sassy scratched up the corner just seems to rise out of the dirt. Well, I don't want that. Next to it, a side table. A wall emerges with a moon in the distance. Not the 11th moon of Nos. Not even Nos at all. Not even this system. I don't want that. I want beef. He gestures to the cows rolling with the cat octopus in a field of catnip. And around him continues to grow a room burned in his memory, the room that he fell in love.
But then what?
Fine, he says out loud. You want me to go there? I'll go there. He lays down, this time voluntarily, letting his eyes get droopy, letting himself drift into the memory of that house. Things didn't just happen for him back then. They didn't just go his way. They mostly went Ma's way. Things happened how Ma said they did. Whatever she wanted went. The only thing that happened his way was the day he left that place. The day he walked out the door, left it behind, to be a scumbag out in the middle of nowhere. That was the first time he just did whatever he wanted. And it wasn't what he wanted in the end. No, he wanted to be the guy in the nice suit with the nice job, with the money and the funds to buy whatever he wanted. But being a scumbag out in the middle of space ain't too half bad for somebody who can't make a choice for themselves. So he did that for a while. And he remembers looking back on the outside of that house and thinking, I made it shinier in my memory. And he sort of like kind of waves his hand across it, and the smooth paint of it becomes chipped. The windows reveal the cracks in them. The grass reveals that brown, gray, leathery texture. This place sucked. I didn't want to be here. That desire is nostalgia. And he walks away, waking up. But then what?
There's a big shift in the trajectory of the ship as Kenneth walks out of the room. The cows kind of shuffling, some of them falling over as they jump at the wrong time. Kenneth, feeling a knowing inside, they're heading home, goes over to the catnip patch and sits and watches the cows slowly getting closer and closer until he can touch their wet noses and even scratch their ears. They're just big dogs, big cats, big pets. Sassy likes them. And he thinks maybe 3D printed fillets aren't too bad. They land. One last thing Kenneth needs to take care of. That is the fact that, no, this is not Venny's ship. But this also isn't his ship. This is Annis's ship. Someone a bit gruff, a bit melty. Someone he's grown to enjoy the company of. Someone he doesn't want to be Kenny with. And so as Sassy and Kenneth leave the cow room, patting the cows goodnight, telling Tree to make sure they have everything they need, they walk back to the front of the ship, where Venny and Venny's partner are exiting off that just step into fresh grass. I'll catch up with you. I just sent you the coordinates to the house. Go surprise Mom. Vinny gives a nod. Their hooves clatter onto the wet earth that is the 11th moon of Nos. But then what?
The suns are gone. All three of them tucked behind this moon, shining on probably the 10th, 9th, 8th, 3rd moons of Nos. Familiar figures in the night sky also rise. Stars, the stars that he saw with Ma. Stars that he's touched so many of as Kenny. And he takes that rusty key, tosses it in his hand, looks up where the lights were. Thank you. The cows are fed. Of course, yeah. And Kenneth folded his coat over his arm, kind of straightens himself up, has tucked his shirt back in, steps out, knowing that Ennis is only a couple yards away, seeing the seam in the field where the ship rose out of, and it's significantly larger than he even realized, but it's also not large enough to hold a room that size, to hold all the petrichor, the bowling alley, the size of what lies inside his heart. And he walks across the field, the ship fueling up over Ennis's shop. Ennis? Hello! A goopy head sort of leans over to the edge. There's a porthole at the bottom of the bowl that Ennis sits in. You find beef. I did find beef. We also got shot at. You hurt my ship! I did not technically hurt your ship. You hurt my ship. It's a very special ship you have there. She's very special. You have key? I do have the key. And, thank you. I owe you. You owe me big. You promise. There's, something priceless on there. I know. Tree's very special. So you know. But then what?
Yeah, she's very hyper advanced computer. She's incredibly smart. She drives spaceship all by herself. It's very expensive. Took me years to build up the money to have her installed. Absolutely nightmare process. So many paperwork, so many paper money. Very special. Kenneth. Oh. Yeah. Oh, very special. He tosses back the keys to him. Catches them and puts them away and says, well, I'm gonna have a nightcap and head to bed. I'll catch you some other time. The night passes on. Kenneth tries to sleep, but cannot. Not after what he now knows about that ship, about him, about cows, about bowling. He knows so much now about how this all works for him. He takes a wonder. to think, to walk it off, to shake the feeling, to talk himself out of it, because no, maybe that's even just a little bit too far. Maybe that's not actually how it all happened. But then this wander, whether intentional or not, he came across the ship in the middle of the tall grass, in the middle of the cornfield, in the middle of it all. And he looked at it. No key in hand, no nothing. He just said, "It's gonna unlock for me." And it did. And he walked up and in, and the orange lights glue, and the buttons did nothing, but the ship flew.
Yes! Yes.
Nailed it. No notes.
That is the end of our story. And no notes. Fantastic.
that was so fun. That was very fun.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
Heck yes. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We're going to have a little storytelling hangover, I think, after that one. But before we let you go, thank you again to Kai and Dillin. Please let the people know who you are and where they can find you and what's going on.
Cool. Yeah. Hello, I'm Dillin, or Super Dillin. I am the host of the One Shot podcast, where we play a new RPG every single month with a new group of people. I'm also a mainstay on the Atomless, which is a Starfinder podcast. And you can find me doing other things all circling around. You can also find my games, usually at +1 Experience or on my itch. I make a lot of RPGs about the mundane little unimportant things, making them magical. And that is me. This was fun as hell.
Yeah.
Wow, this was such a treat. I'm Kai. You can find me everywhere as Estelle of Imladris. You can find me on Saturdays over on Transplanter RPG in the Chaos Protocol, which is our main campaign. We'll be in Arc 3, where I'm continuing to play Mr. Zen and Esh, who is everyone's sad purple gay cowboy man. Love him so much. You can also find me over on Bathhouse RPG in Sun and Chains, which is the Tales of the Valiant game, and over on Taino Tales on the Doomsayers, having a grand old time over there, solving a mystery, maybe doing some God stuff, TBD. But I've got lots of projects going on. You can just find me over on my socials, and I have a calendar that I keep over there. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, if you don't know, I'm Sierra, aka Mystic. You can find me here. Utopia is our flagship D&D 5e podcast. It has a lot of episodes and it's coming to an end. So be sure to tune in. It's been 3 years of creating content for Utopia. There are recaps. You can jump in wherever you want. But the campaign is coming to an end. So be sure to tune in for the end of that. We also have this show, But Then What? We're just getting started. This is episode 1, y'all. We have 6 total episodes in season 2 with incredible guests. For me personally, you can find me anywhere as Mystic_Musings_. And sometimes you'll see me and my name in some books as the game producer for Dungeons and Dragons at Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. I'm just Yeah, storytelling hangover. I don't know. There's nothing. Oh, there is one more thing to say. I also have a show on Bad House with some incredible folks.
Those people. Love that.
Coming out. Yes. And it is a splatterpunk monster story, a short pre-recorded campaign with an incredible cast that I am the GM for. And y'all, I've been teasing this show for a year, and I'm so stoked that it's actually finally going to be in everyone's grubby little meaty paws. But that's it.
Amazing.
Follow, like, subscribe, donate on Ko-Fi if you'd like to help pay these incredible people for this show. And we'll catch you around next time. Bye.